Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with the 5 greatest Scarlatti keyboardists. That includes harpsichord, piano, or any other keyboard sucker that you can summon up to play Scarlatti's marvelous body of 555 sonatas. Holy mackerel. It's impossible to sort of draw parameters for who the great Scarlatti keyboardists are based on the volume of work that they did, because everybody does something different. And Scarlatti, until pretty recently, was not a composer that people played, en masse. Now, recently, with the period instrument people and all that stuff, well, yeah, okay, people do like billions of sonatas all at one throw. But he was always a specialty composer. Somebody who people did as like wonderful, witty encores or maybe a little handful of sonatas in a program that you would pick very, very carefully from this vast universe of keyboard music. And so I'm just going by who made the greatest Scarlatti records in this case. And there are really quite a few people who did that. But I think this list is interesting because it has a wonderful mixture of men and women, piano and harpsichord, early music, old, early instruments, new instruments. You get the mix. And the point is that Scarlatti works fabulously on all of them. It's impossible to be dogmatic about Scarlatti, just as Scarlatti himself was not dogmatic about the range of expression that he embodied. The world of sounds and Spanishisms and contrapuntalisms and all the things that he managed to pack into his music. These wonderful, wonderful works. So, you ready? The 5 greatest Scarlatti keyboardists are, first, Mikhail Pletnev. Now, Pletnev did an amazing 2-disc Scarlatti set for Virgin, really when Virgin just was getting started, and when his career was just getting started on disc. And they're extraordinary, absolutely extraordinary. He is the perfect guy for Scarlatti because he tends to be highly interventionist as a keyboard artist. He could be very, very quirky, and if you pick the right music, which he did, it works perfectly. It works absolutely perfectly. It's a brilliant, brilliant Scarlatti recital. I turn to it often for just pure listening pleasure. After Pletnev, the great Igor Kipnis. Here's a name that doesn't come up very much anymore. Kipnis was a fascinating musical character. He was the son of Alexander Kipnis, the great Russian singer, but he became a harpsichordist at a time when that was not a thing. It really wasn't. He was a pioneer as a performer on the harpsichord, not as much as like Wanda Landowska or someone like that, but he still was. And he made a couple of amazing Scarlatti recitals. One of them was on EMI. Actually, I think there were 2 on EMI, but they were combined on one CD. And then there was a disc he also did for Chesky Records, and they're just beyond brilliant. They're fabulous. He chose his instruments with great care. They sound lovely. He chose the sonatas with equal care, and he played them to a fare thee well. They're absolutely amazing performances from a splendid artist who doesn't get much mention anymore. We could use an Igor Kipnis box. Somebody who has all of his stuff, that would really be nice. So after Igor Kipnis, Clara Haskil. Now, Clara Haskil is the embodiment of the value in scarcity pianist. Her discography wasn't large. It was rather limited. It was Mozart, Beethoven, Schubert, few other things, an amazing Nights in the Gardens of Spain. She was an extraordinary woman who had a very unfortunate life. She seemed to be unlucky. Accidents and things happened to her. And her Scarlatti disc was made for Westminster. It's just a handful of sonatas, but they are the acme of pianistic perfection. Yes, they really, really are. They are beautiful, exquisite performances, and they've never been bettered. I mean, of course, they could be equaled in individual sonatas by other people, but taken as a whole, they are amazing, amazing examples of sympathetic keyboardosity. I mean, she was a marvel. She really was. After Clara Haskil, and sort of in the opposite direction, I would say, Vladimir Horowitz. Horowitz was like Pletnev. He was made for Scarlatti. He had a somewhat impish sense of humor, let's say, unbelievable technical facility, and these little gems were just made for him to dazzle us. They're dazzling performances. Horowitz's Scarlatti, and he played Scarlatti throughout his career in little groups of sonatas. I remember very vividly. I don't know however many people were around for this, but he gave an interview on 60 Minutes, the news show. It wasn't anything he said, actually. Somehow the subject came up that, he said, artists have to have a sense of humor. And his wife, Wanda Toscanini Horowitz was there, and she was like, she was sort of grim looking. And she looks, I think it was Mike Wallace who did that interview. And she looks at him and she says, I have a sense of humor. You live with artists like these all your life. You got to have a sense of humor. Well, he had a sense of humor. He did. So did she, somewhere, somehow, evidently. And his Scarlatti is iconic, truly iconic. And it's all the more iconic for the fact that he played Scarlatti and Clementi and some other of these, classical era, Baroque era composers as a barnstorming, romantic virtuoso type. And it says something about Scarlatti that his music is so beautifully suited for that temperament, because it is romantic virtuoso keyboard music. It really is, or a lot of it is. And Horowitz knew which ones to pick. He knew how to pick them. And last but not least, of course, we have to mention Scott Ross, the guy who did the first complete set of Scarlatti sonatas. Since then, other people have done them, and some have done them well. But Scott Ross did them with incredible affection on a wide and very carefully chosen and beautiful sounding collection of harpsichords, lots of different ones, a bunch of different ones. He recorded the whole set for Erato, and it's one of the great achievements in the history of recording. It really is. There are no bad performances anywhere in it. I mean, there aren't even any mediocre performances anywhere, at least that I can tell. I mean, I would have to listen to all 555 in real time and compare them to others and all that, but they are extraordinary performances. It's an exceptional achievement and a wonderful way to conclude this list of the 5 greatest Scarlatti keyboardists. I'm very interested to see who is on your list. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks so much for joining me. Take care.